Hare Krishna, Hare Bol, Dandavat Pranams, everyone. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharva Giridhari Shri Shri Radharaman Bihari Ji ki Jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Ji ki Jai. Jai Shri Vishnu Padastatra Shat Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Shrilaban Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Nitile Pravistam Vishnu Padastatra Shat Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Shila Narayan Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Nitile Pravistam Vishnu Padastatra Shat Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Shrilavamana Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Nitile Pravistam Vishnu Padastatra Shat Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj ki Jai. Nitile Pravistam Vishnu Padastatra Shat Shila Bhakti Pragyana Keshava Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Nitile Pravistam Vishnu Padastatra Shat Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Nitile Pravistam Vishnu Padastatra Shat Jai Shila Gaurkshara Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai. Nitile Pravista Sachidananda Shila Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki Jai. Vaishnava Savabhama Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Shila Rupanuga Guru Varga ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go Shri Giriraj Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Shri Navdeep Dham ki Jai. Gaur Parshada Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Damvasi Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Jai Shri Bhakti Rasayana ki Jai. Shila Parangurudev ki Jai. Jai Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. Samveda Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Gaurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Namayam Vishnu Padaya Gaura Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Vanaiti Namine Vandeham Bhakti Chakuram Gauranganija Preshtitam Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Vananamastubhyam Shri Radhai Kanishtitam Rasayana Katamritam Sankirtanam Anandadam Goswaminam Vanam Namaha. Namayam Vishnu Padaya Shri Radhika Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayana Iti Namine Shri Krishna Lila Katane Sudaksham Audara Madhure Gunaschayuktam Varam Varanyam Purusham Mahantam Narayanam Tvam Shirasanamami Tridandinam Bhakta Shiromanincha Shri Krishna Padabja Dritai Karidi Chaitanya Lila Amrita Sarasaram Narayanam Tvam Sharam Prapadye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratushe Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Om Vrindaya Tulsi Devaya Priyaya Keshabhaksya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavatya Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, first of all, my unlimited obeisances to the lotus feet of my spiritual master, Om Vishnupad, Paramahansa, Parivajikacharya, Stotarashat, Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta, Shrilavana Goswami Maharaj, and also to Parangurudev, Nitile Pravistam Vishnupad, Stotarashat, Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta, Shrilavana Goswami Maharaj, Nitile Pravistam Vishnupad, Shri Bhaktivedanta, Shri Narayan Goswami Maharaj, to all Shri Rupanu Guru Varga, my obeisances to all Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, to all of you who are hearing this live stream, who are together here for studying online, those who are here now, those who will be in the future, those who are in the past. My obeisances to all of you. Thank you so much for joining so that we can study together Shastra, which is so important, right? Mahaprabhu told in Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita, he said, Siddhanta Boliachite na karo alas, jaha hoite Krishna lage sudir damanas. He said, don't be lazy to study Tata Siddhanta. We shouldn't be lazy, because if we study, then our mind will be very fixed in Krishna consciousness, fixed in the lotus feet of Shri Krishna. So it's such a blessing that my Srila Gurudev actually gave me this opportunity to read the Bhakti Rasayana online. I'm so happy. So I don't know if you know this book. In the flyer, I had the photo of the latest edition of this book. It's a very old book. You can say it's an old book. I'm going to open here also you can see through YouTube, you'll be able to see. And now I don't know how to open on Zoom as well. Let me see if I can do it. But so that you can see also. Let me see if I can open. But anyway, if I don't open here on Zoom today, next class I can put here on my corner. But those who are watching on YouTube, you can see the book on the PDF. But those who want to join the Zoom, it's good because you can also ask questions and put the camera on. And on YouTube, it's only possible to write messages, not show and also speak. Well, I think I would have to share my screen with the Zoom. I'll leave this for later. So those who are watching on Zoom, next time I'll put the book for you because I need to do that setting, not today. But so Bhakti Rasayana, we start with the first page. First page of this book. So Bhakti Rasayana, like I mentioned, is a book which has been published. I'll tell you when is the first edition was in November 1994. Okay, first edition of this book, Bhakti Rasayana, November 1994. See, even before Srila Narayana Goswami Maharaj went to the Western countries, this book was published. Then second edition, 1997. Third edition, 2006. And fourth edition, which was the one you can buy in India if you go to India, or you can maybe get it online, it's 2011. So about 6,000 copies published, sold and distributed. Okay, so in the beginning, we have a publisher's note, a little bit of the life history of Param Gurudev. And then, introduction. So this introduction was written by Prema Vilas Dasa. He says, at the beginning of the second part of Srila Sanatana Goswami's Sri Brhad-Bhagavatamrtam, Jaimini Rishi explains to Janmenjai how, after having heard the description of Narada's quest that comprises the first part of this exalted scripture, Parikshit Maharaj's mother Uttara said to her son, my heart cannot be satisfied if those devotees who, being indifferent to any other spiritual practice in spiritual attainment, desire only the eternal service of Srimati Radhika, and who perpetually sing her glories and are immersed in love for her, attain residence in merely the same Vaikuntha as many other devotees do. This is a matter of great sorrow, and I cannot tolerate that this may be the final destination for devotees like Sri Nandarai and Sri Jashoda. There must certainly be a suitable abode for them that is superior to Vaikuntha. If there is such a place, then please describe it and deliver me from this doubt. Okay, so this first paragraph, I don't know if many of you understood. So let's just a little bit retrospective. What is this book? Bhakti Rasayana. This book, Lectures of Param Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj. Probably they'll explain more in the introduction exactly how the book was made. But mainly Param Gurudev, because what happens in the Brhad-Bhagavatamrtam, you know, it's basically one of the most important books from all the Goswamis, from Srila Sanatana Goswami, because it was like the first book. All the other books of all the other Goswamis, they are written based on Brhad-Bhagavatamrita by Sanatana Goswami, right? Sorry, the sound okay? I didn't even ask if everything is okay in the sound and video. So Brhad-Bhagavatamrita is the most important book. And I mean, most important because it's the base of all the other books of the Goswamis. And it's like Brihad means great. So it's the big Bhagavatamrita. And it's written by Sanatana Goswami in the shape of story. So two stories are there. One is the story of Narada Rishi, which is the first canto. And the second canto is the story of Gopakumar, right? So the book, Brhad-Bhagavatamrita, what is the context in which it was written by Sanatana Goswami, but the transcendental, like a, how to say, environmental, transcendental scenario in which the book was spoken is, I tell you now. When Shukadeva Goswami, he was giving Harikatha to Parikshit Maharaj, right? 7 days, Bhagavad Katha, right? And then what happened? What happened during this Bhagavad Katha? Bhagavad Katha, 7 days. Sometimes Shukadeva Goswami would be in Samadhi, would be in a complete Samadhi, like in trance. Is there an online PDF copy? Yes, there's an online PDF copy. Let me send here the link and you can download. Oh, Chandrika is not hearing me. Others can hear me? Sorry, just now I saw that Chandrika cannot hear me. I hope you can hear me now. Yes, I could share my screen on Zoom. That's true. First, let me just send the link here.
Yes, the sound is good.
Yeah, sound is good? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so wait, let me send the, first of all, let me send the link here, whoever wants to download. And I may be able to open the, you said I can just share my screen. Ah, okay, there's a button here. Entire screen, application. Oh, okay. Sorry, it's because my first time like having my own Zoom. So I didn't know exactly how to do it. Okay, wait, layout. Okay, okay, okay. Just a second. Yeah, you see, sorry, I won't be able to share the Zoom, the screen on the Zoom because I need to grant the access, need to open the Zoom again. Next time, next class, next Monday, I'll be able to open the book in the Zoom. Sorry, today won't be possible. But, okay, coming back, continuing. Brhad-Bhagavatamrita. What is the, so Bhakti Rasayana, this book, Gurudeva told me, okay, read Bhakti Rasayana, which is Parangurudev on, Gurudev on Bhakti Brhad-Bhagavatamrita. So yeah, like I was saying, Brhad-Bhagavatamrita. What is Brhad-Bhagavatamrita? Is when Shukadeva Goswami, right, he was giving Harikatha. Shukadeva Goswami was giving Harikatha to Parikshit Maharaj, correct? And then sometimes Shukadeva Goswami would be absorbed in trance, okay, in trance, in meditation. And then at that time, what happened? Parikshit Maharaj had some time off the assembly. And then at that time, his mother, Mother Uttara, asked some questions to him. So Mother Uttara, what is her question? What is she's asking? She said, I cannot understand why she wants to know how come different devotees, they go all to the spiritual world after delivering from this world. But I cannot, she said, my heart cannot be satisfied if those devotees, like some devotees, they are one pointed to Srimati Radhika. They don't want anything else. They only sing the glories of Srimati Radhika. They're immersed in the love for Srimati Radhika. How they can also go to the same Vaikuntha as any other person who is like general, like very general, like Vaidhi Bhakti. This is a matter of great sorrow. So she was like, I cannot tolerate that this made the final destination. Because, example, Gurudeva always gives the example. If imagine if there's a building on specific street and many people go inside this building, right? So the building is there, example, Vaikuntha, spiritual world. But how, like, what are the levels in the Vaikuntha lok? You know, there's Vaikuntha, but Brihad, Vaikuntha, Maha Vaikuntha. There's also like Sanket Dham, the place of Lord Ramchandra, Dwaraka, Mathura, Golok, then Vrindavan. Like you have actually many, many places inside Vaikuntha Dham. So just like in a building, there are many floors. So people go inside the building, but you don't see which floor the person is working on. So in the same way, she was thinking, the mother of Parikshit Maharaj, how is it there's only all these devotees, they go to the spiritual world? Are they in the same place, in a different place? But what happened? This conversation between Mother Uttara and Parikshit Maharaj, her son, this was actually told by Jamini Rishi to Janmejai, because Janmejai, he was the son of Parikshit Maharaj, right? So when he heard that his father was killed by a snake, he was very angry. He thought, well, I will kill all the snakes. And then he started doing 5 sacrifices to kill all the snakes. And even this Takshak that had beaten his father, like how to say, coiled up around the Indra's throne in Swargalok. And then he was like, Taksha Swaha, to bring the Takshak so that Takshak would be killed in the 5 sacrifice. And then Indra was also being dragged. And then in this way, all demigods, they were concerned. And then Jaimini Rishi showed up and told him, don't do that, Janmejai. Don't kill all the snakes. Because actually your father, he was not actually killed by a snake. Before your father was bitten by the snake, before that, he had already attained Goloka Vrindavan. It was only his external body, actually. His soul had already gone to Goloka Vrindavan. And that was all Leela, pastimes, you know? Then Jaimini Rishi started to telling Janmejai this story of Mother Uttara and Parikshit Maharaj, exactly to describe Like he's like, oh, how my father went to the spiritual world. What is this? So then Jaimini Rishi started telling in details what is the spiritual world and all that with these two stories. Like I told, Brhad-Bhagavatamrtam is based in two stories. First story of Narada Rishi, second of Gopakumar. Okay, so coming back. So did you guys understand the scenario? So I'll speak one more time in brief. So like this, then from big to small or from small to big, which one you prefer? So from small to big is we have Shukadeva Goswami giving Harikatha to Parikshit Maharaj. Time to time, Shukadeva Goswami enters Samadhi. Parikshit Maharaj then has time to speak to his mother. His mother is telling, my son, I'm not understanding what this Shukadeva Goswami is saying, Srimad Bhagavatam. Can you explain it to me? So Parikshit Maharaj starts explaining to his mother more of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And also she makes many questions to him. Like, for example, this question. She asks, oh, all the people go to the same place in the spiritual world? What is that? So he started telling her. But who is telling this story? Jaimini Rishi is telling to Janmejai. Janmejai is the son of Parikshit Maharaj. He didn't see all that. But Jaimini Rishi saw and he witnessed it. And then he told the son of Parikshit, look what happened. Like this. And Parikshit Maharaj replied, although I could satisfy you by answering your question with the words of the Shruti and Smriti, instead, by the mercy of my spiritual master, Sri Shukadev, I will first relate a historical narration that will dispel all of your doubts. Then I'll speak those essential verses of the scriptures. So Parikshit Maharaj told his mother he could just simply quote the verses, but instead, by the mercy of his guru Shukadeva Goswami, he will tell some stories, because stories is very easy for us to understand, right? That's why Gurudev tells so many stories in his katha, even the Puranas, the scriptures are full of stories, so that is easy for us to understand. Then, after hearing the incomparable story of Gopakumara that comprises the second part of the Brhad-Bhagavatamrtam, Janmejai, the son of Parikshit Maharaj, said, to Jaimini Rishi, he said, fearing that these descriptions will now come to an end, my heart is feeling great sorrow. Therefore, now please give me such potent nectar that upon hearing which my heart will be fully purified for all time. So Jaimini Rishi was telling all that to Janmejai, who is the son of Parikshit Maharaj. He was giving this Harikatha, right? And when he was about to finish, Janmejai said, I don't want to stop hearing Harikatha. This nectar, so good. He asked for more. And Jaimini Rishi told, oh my child, Janmejai, your father, so who is the father of Janmejai, who is paying attention? Shri Parikshit Maharaj, feeling transcendental pleasure upon describing the glories of Golok, next sang with a wonderful and sweet devotional mood numerous verses from two great epics that are the very essence of the Shrutis and Smritis. With great happiness, I wander in this world singing these verses, thereby mitigating the pangs of separation from your father that I feel. Olha, look at this. So Jaimini Rishi is telling to the son of Parikshit Maharaj, I actually feel separation from your father. Who is the father of Janmejai? Parikshit Maharaj. Because I'm feeling separation from your father, this great devotee. Actually, your father, he used to sing beautiful verses with a beautiful devotional mood and also tune. And these verses he used to sing were the essence of the Shrutis and the Smritis. And I also sing these verses, somehow mitigating the pangs of separation I feel from your father. Then Jaimini Rishi went on to quote 4 verses from Brahma Samhita and 59 verses from Srimad Bhagavatam that collectively have come to be known as Bhakti Rasayana. Look, the name of the book. What is the meaning of Bhakti Rasayana? Nectar tonic that stimulates devotion onto the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. So Rasayana is a nectar tonic, something you drink and you become stimulated into devotion of Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. So this book is a translation of lectures spoken originally in Hindi by our esteemed Srila Gurudev, Om Vishnupad Ashtottara Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. Spoken when? In 1991 at Sri Keshavaji Gauriya Math in Mathura. This material comprises his commentary on 28 of these verses that are the very essence of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. In gradation, these verses glorify the devotion of the different classes of devotees in Braj, culminating in the topmost bhakti of the Vraj Gopis. Okay, so what is Bhakti Rasayana? Nectar tonic that stimulates devotion unto the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. Okay, Bhakti Rasayana is something that a tonic nectarian that will take and will feel so much devotion to Krishna. But exactly what is this book? This book is classes spoken by Parangurudeva Srila Narayana Goswami Maharaj in 1991 in Mathura. Commenting means speaking about these verses from the Bhagavatam, which are quoted in the Brhad-Bhagavatamritam. So I remember we just described what is the Brhad-Bhagavatamrtam. It's a conversation between Mother Uttara and her son Parikshit Maharaj. But this conversation is being told by Jaimini Rishi to Janmejai, the son of Parikshit Maharaj. When the description was about to end, the son of Parikshit Maharaj, Janmejai, he was feeling so upset. Oh, I want to hear more Harikatha. And then Jaimini Rishi told him, oh, wait, let me now tell you the amazing verses that your father used to sing very nicely, means Parikshit Maharaj, like a beautiful mood and tune and everything. And when I sing these verses, I also mitigate the separation I feel from your father. So means these verses are very, very special verses collected from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So in total, how many verses there are? 59. 59 plus 4 verses of Brahma Samhita. So they are in the one of the last chapters of the Brhad-Bhagavatamrtam. And the chapter name is Bhakti Rasayana. And sometimes our Gurudev, when he mentions this chapter, he also mentions how
and the
Sanatana
chapter name
Goswami in the Brhad-Bhagavatamrtam, he's showing that actually even verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam, that they are externally, when you read the verse, it seems like the shloka is glorifying Sakyaras, means the friends of Krishna. But depending on how you give the meaning to the Sanskrit words, actually they also are glorifying Ujjwalaras, means conjugal paramour mood. So in the conclusion, like actually everything actually is nourishing the paramour mood. All the rasas, they are nourishing paramour mood. So even these verses that externally they are like from other rasas, they actually are nourishing as well paramour mood, and they are actually glorifying paramour mood. So because Sanskrit words and Sanskrit syllables, they can have many meanings. So in this book here, Srila Narayana Goswami Maharaj, he's Parangurudev, he is commenting on 28 of these verses from the 59 in total. It's very special. So in his ongoing publication of Vaishnava literature in the English language, Srila Gurudeva mentions repeatedly that he's simply following in the footsteps of his dear friend and instructing spiritual master. So who is the dear friend and instructing spiritual master of Parangurudeva, Srila Narayana Goswami Maharaj? Who is my Shiksha Guru and Priyabandhu? Nitalila Prabhishta Om Vishnupad Shishimad AC Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Ki Jai.
Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada single-handedly and in a relatively short period of time spread the teachings of Krishna consciousness around the entire world. His translations and writings set the standard for the literary presentation of Vaishnava philosophy, and we sincerely pray that our current efforts are pleasing to him, to Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada. Grateful acknowledgement is extended to Lavangalata Dasi for copy editing this new third edition, to Shanti Dasi for proofreading the final manuscript, to Atul Krishna Das for checking the Sanskrit, to Krishna Prema Das for designing the new cover, and to Subal Saka Das for providing a new photograph of Srila Gurudev. It is the earnest prayer of all of us serving in the Gauriya Vedanta publications that Srila Gurudev, who is the very embodiment of a Rasik Vaishnava, be pleased with our efforts. We offer obeisances to him time and again, for giving us such wonderful explanations of the nectar tonic that Parikshit Maharaj gave to Uttara, his mother, and that Jaimini Rishi gave to Janmejai, and then Sanatana Goswami gave to the inhabitants of this world, and that Parangurudev gave to us. An inspired servant of the Vaishnavas, Prem Vilas Das, This was written on the holy day of Sharadiya Purnima, the first day of Kartik, 10th October 2003, Gopinath Bhavan Shri Vrindavan. So this is the introduction written in the last, I'd say last version, the last edition of this book, 2000. Sorry, no, sorry, the third edition. Last edition is 2011. This maybe was in the third edition. So the first edition of this book, 1994. So we have now the Mangala Charan, but we already did Mangala Charan. Bhakti Rasayana. Chapter 1. The earth becomes fortunate. In the final chapter of Brhad-Bhagavatamritam, the final chapter, after the story of Gopkumara has been completed, Sanatana Goswami quotes verses from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that Parikshit Maharaj spoke to his mother Uttara. They are verses of very beautiful poetry that stimulate the sentiment of bhakti. Stringing these verses together, Sanatana Goswami has composed a necklace for the benefit of the sadhakas of this world. And when the sadhakas keep these verses in their hearts, it is as if they are wearing this necklace around their necks. And if while chanting the holy name, they sometimes call out these verses, it will increase the spiritual pleasure, ananda, in their chanting. This compilation of verses is known as, name of the book, which one? Bhakti Rasayana, the nectar tonic of devotional mellows. When the material body becomes weakened by an illness and one is unable to eat anything, by drinking a tonic, the digestion and the pulse again become strong. Similarly, in the realm of bhakti, for those in whom intense hankering for spontaneous devotion, Raganuga Bhakti, has arisen, these verses in this final chapter are like nectar tonic. Okay, so what we read now in this first page. Okay, so this is already Parangurudev, okay? This is already the book itself, Parangurudev's classes in Mathura. So he's explaining what we read in the introduction. These verses, Bhakti Rasayana, some specific verses from the Bhagavatam and 4 from the Brahma Samhita, they are in the final chapter of the Brhad-Bhagavatamritam. The name of this chapter is called Bhakti Rasayana, Nectar Tonic for Bhakti. Remember, Brhad-Bhagavatamrita is a very important book, like I was saying in the beginning, written by Sanatana Goswami. Everyone should read this book. Very dear to our Srila Gurudev. And in Hindi, you have everything available. Presented, translated by Parangurudev Shalnarayan Goswami Maharaj. And in English, you also have available by GVP. You have the second canto, part 1. And other devotees also published the first canto. But the second canto, part 2, I think is still missing in English. But soon probably will come out. But still, the first canto and the second canto, part 1 are very, very big. So we have a lot to read until then. But, okay, so first story is story of Narada Rishi. And second canto, story of Gopkumar. So those who want to hear more about Brhad-Bhagavatamrtam, please read the book. And also, my Gurudev, Om Vishnupada Srila Bhaktivedanta Van Goswami Maharaj, he has given many classes about Brhad-Bhagavatamrtam. There are many playlists on YouTube. He's given like a full series of classes in English about Brhad-Bhagavatamrtam part 1, which is when Narada Rishi, he's searching for the best Bhagavata Kripa Patra, means the best recipient of mercy of the Lord. So he went to meet different devotees and he said, oh, you are the best recipient mercy of the Lord. And that devotee, no, I'm of course not. How can I be the recipient mercy? Like devotees are so humble. And then that devotee pointed out, no, that other person is better. So then Narada was going to another devotee like this. He went to many, many different devotees until he reached like the topmost devotee. And then also the story of Gopkumar is a different story. And everyone, like whoever he listens to the class of my Gurudev knows that he always speaks about the Gopkumar Katha, very dear. that Brahman, right? First, the story starts with the Mathura Brahmin, who, the Brahmana from Mathura, he couldn't maintain his life with the Brahminical activities, but in his dream, Devi, Durga, came and gave him initiation in the Gopal mantra, right? And then, just making it short, of course, there's a lot to the story. But then what happened? Then fine, and then Durga Devi also told him in the dream, you have to come to Keshighat. So he followed the instructions of Devi, and then when this Mathura Brahmin, the Brahman from Mathura, he came to Keshighat. He saw a person like a sadhu chanting holy names. Shri Krishna Gopala, Hare Mukunda, Govinda He Nanda, Kishora Krishna, Ha Shri Jashoda, Tanaya Prasida, Shri Vallabhi Jivana Radhikesha. So he saw that sadhu chanting holy names. This Brahmana from Mathura was completely hypnotized by this sadhu, like in a good way, like completely enchanted by him. And then when he met this sadhu, after the sadhu stopped singing, then he's like, oh, I know where you're from. You're actually from like Prajagadishpur, and you came here, you received the mantra in the dream from Devi Durga, Kamaka Devi. And then the Brahman was like, oh, how do you know all that? I didn't tell anyone. And then this person was Gopakumar, right? And then Gopakumara tells him, oh, let me tell you how I attained my self-realization. And Gopakumara starts telling the Brahman of Mathura his own life history. How he was also how he was actually a cowherd boy in Govardhan. And he got attracted to a sadhu, Jayanta, his guru, that later became his guru. And then he received initiation. And then his guru disappeared in ecstasy and disappeared. But he never left his guru, like never left the mantra. Gurudev told him to chant Gopal mantra. So he chanted the mantra, and he was always simple. He remained like brahmachari and always like fixed in his form as a cowherd boy. And just followed the instruction of his guru, which is to chant Gopal mantra. And then and he had so much desire to serve Lord. And by chanting Gopal mantra, you know the story, no? Gopakumar, he went to all the abodes. Like first he went to that place in Triveni, right? He saw the Brahmana with the Shalagram Shila in the box. Then he went to Anant Padmanabh temple in South India. Then he went to Jagannath Puri. Then went to Sargalok, because he was always thinking, example, in Puri, he became the king of Puri because he had so much desire to serve Jagannatha more and more. And he was chanting Gopal mantra, and the Gopal mantra fulfilled all his desires. So he became even the king of Puri to serve a lot. And then he was like, then he heard how in Swargalok the demigod served Lord Upendra Bhagavan. And he's like, oh, let me serve also there. So nice. And then just by chanting Gopal mantra, he came to Swargalok. And he was like, wow, so beautiful. I wish I could serve a lot, Lord Upendra. And then chanting Gopal mantra, he became even Indra, because Indra serves so much Upendra. So like he only had desire to serve. And by chanting Gopal mantra took him everywhere, from one abode to another abode. And he got everything, all the position and everything. But he was so humble. He never like got involved in anything. Just he wanted to serve the Lord. Finally, he reached Golok Vrindavan. And he is a Gop, right? His Gop Kumar's spiritual name, Swarup. So as soon as he reached Goloka Vrindavan, when the day he finally saw Krishna, he was about to graze the cows with Krishna, he was so happy. Shrimati Radhika stopped him and said, no, Gop Kumar, you have to go back to the material world and bring your disciple, Jana Sarma. You have to bring him here. And then Gop Kumar, following the instruction of Shrimati Radhika, he went to the material world to bring Jana Sarma, this Brahman of Mathura, to the spiritual world. Anyway, it's a beautiful book. So this is the Brhad-Bhagavatamrtam. So in the last chapter of the second part, which is the story of Gop Kumara, these verses are there. So what Parangurudev is telling here? We have to make a necklace. Okay, this necklace. So some people, they know how to make the crafts, and they make very nice like necklaces with like small like jewels, and this, how do you say, like this, like how to say that, there's like sometimes some plastic, small, and then many colors, and you put shining. But which kind of necklace you have to make? Necklace? Sorry, what is the name?
They call it beads.
The beads, yes. Thank you so much. I forgot the word. The beads, yes. So people know how to make this with the beads and things like that. But we need to make a necklace with these verses. So while chanting the holy names, if we call out these verses, this will increase the spiritual pleasure, ananda, in our chanting. So this also is a very important fact, which you should never forget, and which fact that we should always chant shlokas while we are chanting holy names. So if you want to read more about this, please read my Gurudev's book, Jewels of the Heart. So in that book, it's all about this, how when we're chanting, if we only chant Hare Krishna, like 64 rounds and only chanting, at least now in the beginning of stage, can be very dry and mechanical. So what we have to do in between the the rounds and things like that, we should chant these very, very nice verses that will nourish the mood we want to attain. So those who read this book, Jewels of the Heart, so many times, mainly my Gurudev quotes these beautiful verses to Srimati Radhika, like Tavai Vasmi, Na Jivami Toyabina, Iti Binga Tera De, Tona Mam Charanantike. Oh Radhe, I'm yours, I cannot live without you. Please accept me as your maid servant. I'm falling at your feet, like this. Beautiful verses that, okay, the mood I want to attain, to be this maid servant of Srimati Radhika, so we want to recite these beautiful verses. And also, even in the beginning, we need to control our senses. We can also chant like verses from the Upadeshamrita. All these verses, they're like mantras. And the altars like Rupa Goswami, Upadeshamrita, and they will give us blessings if we recite them. So this is called mantra mayupasana, means we chant these mantras and we meditate in the meaning. Meanwhile, we chant the holy names and in between as well. So this is opposed to Swarasika this kind of meditation that when we come to that level of meditating Krishna's pastimes, like continuously, like Ashtakali, Lila and everything, then it's like automatically all this meditation is coming. But before we in this topmost stage, we do mantra mayupasana. We take the mantra, like example, these mantras we're going to study in this book, right? These 28 verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And then we see the translation, and then while we are chanting, we think about the Harikatha we heard about this verse, and also in between the chanting we recite the verse, and of course always paying attention also to the holy names we are reciting, and also this Harikatha. So in the mood of Kamala Manjari, his eternal identity within Krishna's pastimes, Bhaktivinoda Thakura prayed. He said, so now is a prayer of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He said, Naham bande tava charanayor dvandam advandaheto kumbhipakam gurumapi hare narakam napanetum ramya rama mridu tanulata nandane nabhirastum bhave hridaya bhavane bhavayam bhavantam. He says, O Lord, I am not performing bhajana so that you will remove the worldly misery that is strangling me. I am not praying at your feet for entrance into the heavenly garden of Nandakanan in the Swargalok, where one can enjoy with beautiful women for a very long time. Nor am I praying for liberation, so that I will never again have to suffer for 9 months in the womb of a mother again, and never again be punished by the messengers of Jamaraj. No. So Lord, I'm not praying for this, for liberation, for never take birth again, to go to Swargalok. I'm not praying to be for that my misery to be removed. No. What I pray, oh my Lord, sorry, from the core of my heart, is that you will increase the bhav of Vrindavan, where you are roaming with the gopis and enjoying amorous pastimes. In meditation on the description of these pastimes, I will at once become completely lost in prem. This is what I'm praying for. I am praying that I may take birth as a gopa or gopi, or even as a peacock or tree or anything, anywhere within the 64 square mile Brajamandal in Vrindavan. There, I will acquire the company of a Rasik devotee, of a Vrajrasik sadhu, who, being full of the bhava of Vrindavan, will describe all of these pastimes to me, and then my life will be meaningful. Okay, so you see the beautiful prayer of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He's not praying to go to Swargalok. He's not praying to be free from the material misery. He's not praying to never take birth again in this world. He's praying to increase the bhava of Vrindavan in his heart. He's praying to take birth anywhere within Vrindavan. And he's praying for Sadhu Sang. For Sadhu Sang, Brajarasik Sadhu means the association of a high-class devotee who relishes these transcendental ras moods of Vrindavan, and that I can hear Harikatha from him. So you know, right? The Harikatha is everything. By hearing this Harikatha, the mood, these impressions will come in, this eagerness also to attain all these moods. So when sadhakas study and learn these verses, deeply meditating within themselves on their meaning while chanting the holy name, they will act as a stimuli to fully experience the mood described in the verse above. Then one's mind will not wander here and there. We should not just walk around talking to others while chanting, but taking our chanting beads, we should sit in a solitary place and give it our mind and heart. Our previous acharyas chanted all night long, meditating on one verse after another. For half an hour, the waves of the bhav of one particular verse would be coming to them. Sometimes they would be fully submerged in those waves. Sometimes they would rise to the surface and float on those waves. And then they would move on to the next verse. As they did this more and more, the whole night would pass. And where it went, they wouldn't know. This is the traditional method of performing bhajana. Bhajana. Okay, so what is bhajana? Bhajana. So like Gurudev explains, we say, oh, bhajana and sadhana, how's your bhajana and sadhana going on? Actually, we know that bhajana is much higher. Sadhana is also very high to be a proper sadhaka, but bhajana, actually also both words, you have also like a general meaning and a specific meaning, more deep. But in general, bhajana is like this, when you're completely already absorbed in these bhavs, in the moods of the Vrajavasis and how to serve Krishna in your transcendental form, thinking about the pastimes and the service. It's a real meditation of, the soul in the spiritual world, in the pastimes of Krishna. And sadhana is the, whatever we do, kriti sadhya bhavesadya bhavana sadhana bida nitya siddhasya bhavasya prakatam hriti sadyata. Sadhana is everything we do with our mind and body and senses with the aim to attain bhava bhakti. So that's sadhana. All right. So if we're doing some activity, but we are not fully aimed to attain bhava bhakti, we are actually not doing sadhana. And also real sadhana, we have also completely surrendered to Guru before starting sadhana. Actually, according to Bhakti Rasayana, real sadhaka is Bilamangala Thakur, someone who is actually has the eligibility to see the Lord, to have darshan, but because of some impediment, he hasn't yet taken darshan. So yeah, so even sadhaka is really high class. But in a general way, if we're practicing spiritual life with the aim, so Gurudev always explains, sadhana bhakti in a general way, two main goals we have. One is to clean the heart of all the trash, of all the anarthas, the bad things we have. Lust, anger, greed, enviousness, stupid nonsense, rascal, like Gurudev says. Anyway, so clean the heart. And the second goal of the sadhana bhakti is to, I forgot the English word he used. Anyways, to aspire for one drop of this mood of the Vrajavasis. So, this mood of the Vrajavasis, we start aspire for that. So that's why we practice Vaidhi Bhakti, yes, but we also hear Harikatha from Gurudev and the Vaishnavas, and this Harikatha about Vraj Bhav that they're speaking. So meanwhile, we're doing the Bhakti sadhana to clean our heart, we also should have this aim and focus to how to attain one drop of this mood of the Brajavasi. So this is sadhana bhakti. So here in this introduction, chapter 1, Parangurudeva is saying how the acharyas used to do bhajana. So they used to, I'm just repeating what we already read, they used to chant holy names the whole night and absorbing bhavas of these different verses while chanting. So even though we are not in that platform, we can also do that. We are hearing, now we're going to read this book about these special verses from the Bhagavatam. So you should try to remember the meanings we heard, we read. We can also write down, we can have the book open. And then when you're chanting holy names, remember the specific moods that Parangurudev described. And also in between, also recite the verse. So the real process of chanting is to chant alone. So this in Gurudev always says three things we should always do in privacy, right? Two things. Gurudev always says bhojan and bhajan. Bhojana means to eat, and bhajana means to chant holy names, right? The best way to worship Lord in Kali Yuga, chanting the holy names. So these two things you should do in privacy, like in a confidential place. Gurudeva says. And third thing, sometimes Gurudeva says Raman means to union with the opposite sex, like any like kind of a like dealing with the opposite sex. Always also in anyway. Sometimes Gurudeva also says it's Shastra saying no, also in hidden. Anyway, but Gurudeva says bhojana and bhajana always in privacy. Privacy or in private? In private, privacy. Why? Because Gurudeva says also, no, if you're eating in front of others, and depending on generally where it is, now people like, example for Gurudev, maybe they're like, oh, this sadhu is eating so much, so many preparations. Oh, why they give this to him, not to me? Like many things people can say and give bad look, bad energy to that food. Like example, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that what is the name? Ramachandra Puri, right? Called Mahaprabhu to his house and then served so much food to Mahaprabhu. But then Mahaprabhu was eating and he was criticizing Mahaprabhu. Oh, why are you eating so much like this? Like you invited me to your house, you gave me all this food, I'm eating, you're criticizing. Then Mahaprabhu said, oh, I'm Jagannath, I eat a lot. Yes, like Jagannath, so meaning like, sorry, he didn't say like this. He said like something like, look how Lord Jagannath also accepts many preparations like these, and they offer to Lord and he accepts. Meaning we should eat in private, not with someone who is gonna tell something like, no, like disturb you or give envy looks and things like that. And also bhajana, chant holy names also alone, because if you chant holy names alone, then you can properly come in the mood. And then through these verses, Parikshit Maharaj is making the bhakti of his mother steady and strengthening her determination for Gopi Bhav. And through these same verses, Sanatana Goswami is nurturing us. There is a blend of so many different bhavas in Vrindavan, but in the end, applying some polish to these sentiments, he emphasizes Gopi Bhav. There are many verses here, and they are all beneficial to the cultivation of bhajana. To develop and strengthen this bhav within us, we will study these verses in sequence, and from this endeavor, intense hankering for this particular devotional sentiment will certainly arise within us. Okay, now is already the first verse. You ready? So Parangurudev is saying, these verses emphasize Gopi Bhav. And if we look at this blessing, Parangurudev's blessing, we will study these verses in sequence. And from this endeavor, intense hankering for this particular devotional sentiment will certainly arise within us. Okay, so now the first verse. You ready? So the first verse, I'll put here in the comment. Let me see if I can find it. Oh no, everything, sorry. All the diacritics completely wrong. Okay, forget it. So the verse is, okay, if you want from the Bhagavatam, is Bhagavatam 10.15.8. Or maybe I can open here and then you can see the verse 2. Sorry, let me just put the verse here. 10.15.8. So this is the first verse we'll see. Let me open here and I'll put the link. Bhagavatam 10.15. So this chapter is about the killing of Dhenukasur, the demon who was a donkey. So I'll put the link here and you can open on the internet this verse. Please, you can click. We're about to finish already the class soon, after 10 minutes. Open this verse, please. Veda base 10.15.8. And we can recite together. Everyone's got it? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so let's recite. Together. Dhanyeyamadhya dharani trina virudhastat pada sprisho drumalata kara jabimiristaha Nadyo adrayaha khagamrigaha sadaya valokair gopyo antarena bhujayor apiyat sprihashri. Now the translation. Shri Krishna said to Balaram, "Today, this land, along with all its green grass, has become fortunate due to receiving the touch of your lotus feet. And receiving the touch of the fingers of your lotus hands, the trees, creepers, and bushes consider that they have attained the greatest treasure. Receiving your affectionate glances, the rivers, mountains, birds, and animals are all feeling fully gratified. But most fortunate of all are the Braja Gopis, who have been embraced to your strong chest, a favor that even Lakshmi Devi herself always desires." Okay, now Parangurudeva will explain the mood behind this verse, okay? So, this verse is saying, Krishna told Balaram, "Today this land, along with all the green grass, became fortunate because received your touch. And receiving the touch of your fingers, the trees, creepers, bushes consider that they have attained the greatest treasure. All the animals, the rivers, the mountains are all fully satisfied because they had your darshan. Especially the Vraja Gopis, who have been embraced your strong chest, a favor that even Lakshmi Devi desires." So Krishna told this to Balaram, okay? Krishna told to Balaram. Krishna told to Balaram. I thought it would be the other way around. Let's see if Parangurudeva explains this. This verse describes the time when Krishna is at the junction of his Paugand Lila. Means what? Age 6 to 10. And Kaishora Lila, age 10 to 16. So the junction. So remember the name of the junction? What's the name of the junction? I just forgot. Bayasandhi. Bayasandhi. It's like puberty in English, right? Bayasandhi is the puberty. So after being a child starts the being young, like youngster, a teenager. So you have the puberty, right? So Bayasandhi. So this verse describes the time when Krishna is at this junction, means puberty in English. At this time, his full beauty and charm are becoming more apparent, and his limbs are filling out. Limbs are filling out, like starting not to be limbs filling out. Okay. He would feel shy if he were to remain naked at this age. So like a child will run naked, doesn't have this, the shyness. But when you become, puberty hits and all that, you start being self-conscious about your body, being ashamed to be naked. Now he enjoys taking the cows out to graze and jumping about and creating mischief with his friends. At this age, his form is like a bud that is beginning to open. It has not yet become a flower, but it is gradually opening. So it's a bud, no? Puberty still is not completely. No, so you have a Bayasandhi, then you have what is the word I forgot? What is that? Who remembers? Jovanan, and then Prapti Jovan, and then Pura Jovan. I forgot the words. There's the like puberty, and then beginning of the youthful age, and then fully mature. I forgot the Sanskrit. Who remembers? Jaiva Dharma explains, and Gurudeva always says also as Vayasandhi, Jovana, Purna Jovan. Anyway, so Krishna is not yet completely Jovan, not completely a teenager, but starting. So it's not like a flower yet, but it's what? The buds. Gradually opening and becoming more charming. So we'll read this page here and then we'll stop for today, okay? So page 4. So he's becoming more charming. Previously, no fragrance came from the bud, and no bee would have been hovering around it. But as it opens more and more, the fragrance begins to come, and there is nectar available to the bee. When it spreads out and becomes fully mature, it means that Krishna has reached the Kaishore age. So Kishore, Jugala Kishore, Ki Jai, completed, right? Kishore. Now that Krishna and Baladeva have become a little older, their forms have become very charming. So they're turning into teenager years. Their feet have also become bigger. Previously, they were thin from heel to from the heel to the toe, from the heel to the toe, they were thin, their feet. But now, like ripe bananas, their feet have become big and very soft. And whereas before the soles of their feet had yellowish complexions, now they have begun to take on a reddish hue. Look at the interesting explanation about Krishna's feet, Krishna and Balaram. So before they were Poganda age, 6 to 10. Now they're starting to become teenagers, Kaishora Lila, age 10 to 16. But they're still in the junction, means puberty. So what happens? Before, their feet now became big, because before their feet was very thin from the heel to the toe. But now, just like ripe bananas, their feet have become big and very soft. And whereas before the soles of their feet had yellowish complexions, so before the sole of the feet was yellow, but now have begun to take on a reddish hue. So reddish hue, like Gurudeva was explaining the other day, how the feet of Mahaprabhu and Shrimati Radhika is known as Ratul Charan, right? Ratul Charan means very, very soft, very red color. So soft and red that when he's giving one step, or Shrimati Radhika to another step, it seems like it's bleeding because her feet is so soft. And Gurudev says it's softer even in the foam of the milk. And reddish, so it looks like it's bleeding when you see her feet, but it's actually just so red. And especially for Shrimati Radhika, this is like used for her, Ratul Charan and Mahaprabhu. Then Guru, I think some devotee asked, and Krishna's feet, Gurudeva, is also reddish like this? And then Gurudev said, oh, Krishna is always grazing the cows barefoot, so his feet has so much callosity, like callous, like thick. Because Gurudev was saying, like, just like parikrama, like if you do so much walking barefoot, your feet will be so hard, so much skin. So Krishna's feet is also like that, Gurudev was saying. Anyway, Gurudev told this. Now Krishna has become a little clever in speaking. Instead of always speaking directly, he has learned to speak in a roundabout way. These are all symptoms of this age. So when you become a teenager, you are very clever in the speaking. You speak in a roundabout way. These are all symptoms of this age. So who is the mother of teenagers? You know how how teenagers, they change so much, no? When from a child to teenager, how they change, how they speak, how they behave. His newfound cleverness in speech is evident in his speaking of this verse. To avoid praising himself, he uses the presence of Baladeva Prabhu as a pretext to express his own feelings. So this verse actually about himself, but Krishna is telling as if it was for Baladev. Because at this age he has become, because of course God, Krishna is always Lord, perfect, but according to pastimes like a human being, at this age he has become little intelligent. So like quotation marks, become a little intelligent. He realizes that he should never praise himself. Praising oneself is like committing suicide. Wow. So praises to oneself is like committing suicide. So generally Western people don't know that, but it's in Shastra, in Indian culture, and we should never praise ourselves. And not only that, I mean, in Western culture people know, like, you should be humble, like not praising too much oneself. But in Indian culture, this is really, really like spread, I think. And in Shastra also says, like, if you hear your own glories, actually you lose all your pious deeds. If you hear so much praise to, like, someone praising you, if you hear that, like, then you lose all your pious deeds. So be careful not to hear your own praise. And that's very, very harmful. So like here Parangurudev is saying, if you hear your own praise, is like committing suicide, and Krishna knows. That's why he's not praising himself. So see how deep it is. And in the Western society, it's completely, people don't follow that, and they don't know that. But it's very, very, very dangerous. We should never hear our own glories, our own praise. And actually, one funny thing about this is that sometimes Gurudev gives example. Just we're finishing now, so if anyone has any question or something, please start maybe writing, and then we can also give you a word if you want to speak something. We are about to wrap up. Just I'll finish about this part. Gurudeva explains sometimes, I think some devotee was like upset, like, oh, Gurudeva, Gurudeva like doesn't praise me, or Gurudeva praise that other person so much, but never say anything good that I do, and things like that. And then Gurudeva said, give an example. Do the parents praise their own children? Gurudeva said like that. No, but okay. With the Western brain, for us, it's hard to understand this, because in Western brain society, parents always praise their child in front of the child and all that. But no, in Indian culture, not, and this in the Shastra also. Then Gurudeva said, no, parents don't praise their own child, their own children, never. Why? Because exactly the Shastra says like suicide. If you hear your own praise, it's like you commit, you lose all your pious deeds. Whatever you did good, you like lose. So actually, parents never glorify their own child. So Gurudev gave an example. So like the guru is like also our father, right? So he will not, if he doesn't praise you, that's good. Means it's actually he wants your benefit, because if you hear your own praise, actually it's very, very bad for you. So you should not hear your own praise, But of course, also like pastime like a human being, and not everyone knows and follows that rule, and maybe some people need the encouragement, but and anyway, different reasons. Sometimes, of course, Gurudev will also praise his disciples, or different devotees he will praise, but sometimes, but to give a specific teaching. But sometimes Gurudev also gives this teaching, like, oh, hey, why you want to hear your own praise? That's not good, because then you lose all your pious deeds. And like if somebody comes and praise, example, if to somebody, even I ask Gurudev, if somebody comes and praise like my child or something, what should I do then? Because you should not hear the praise, right? And then Gurudev says, you should say, oh, by your mercy, like, oh, example, somebody comes and say, oh, he's very intelligent, oh, this is so good, like, example, just an example, just an example, somebody comes and says, oh, like, oh, your wife, she's so qualified, she's so good devotee. Then what do you say? Oh, actually, by all Gurudev's grace, or by your grace, you can say, by the grace of you who was speaking, then that's how she became like that, or by Gurudev's grace. But never think, okay, this is my merit, because then if you think that, or her merit, or like our family merit, otherwise you will lose all the pious deeds. So always never try to hear your own praise, and give all the glory, which is true, like all the glory and all the blessings always come from Gurudev and Krishna, everything. So in this context, Gurudev always tells the story of a guy who made a garden. He made a beautiful garden, but he was very arrogant, thinking, why I made this garden with my own hands? I built this garden, I took care of the garden. That's how this garden is so beautiful. So he was so proud of himself because he made the garden, right? And then what happened? But one day a cow came, and then the cow destroyed a part of the garden. And then he became angry because he was so attached to the garden. So he actually beat the cow, and somehow he killed the cow. Okay? And then what happened? Maybe you heard the story, Gurudev tells in the Katha. So he killed the cow, and then he hid the cow somewhere. And then, but then what happened? And then, but he always used to say, oh, I did this garden. To whoever visitor would come, he would praise himself. Oh, look at how I planted this tree. Look how beautiful this garden. I'd give so much work. That's why this garden is so beautiful. But when he killed the cow, actually, I think Indra and these guys came to test him, because actually the worship of the presiding deity of the hands are Indra, right? So in the time of the saying that the cow was killed, oh, what about that cow? What happened there in the back? What is that? He said, no, that was Indra. Indra did it. Like he said that actually Indra was responsible for killing the cow, because he said, oh, Indra is the presiding deity of my hands. Then like stupid nonsense. Actually, his hands got cut as a punishment, because actually he was taking all the credit for him for the garden, but when the time came to actually be responsible for his action, he was blaming Indra, which is the presiding deity of the hands. Anyway, this is just a small story, but illustrates like this. We should never praise ourselves and never hear our own praise. So here Krishna is very intelligently now, instead of praising himself, he's praising Baladev Prabhu. So that's why we want to come. That's why he said this. Krishna is praising Baladev Prabhu. Whatever he was about him, he's actually praising Baladev Prabhu. So we'll continue next Monday hearing more about why the earth is so fortunate, why the presence of Baladeva, in case of Krishna, is making that Vrindavana so happy. So we're going to hear more about this when Parangurudev describes this page. So those who have the book or the PDF, we are page 4, in the middle of page 4. So if anyone has any questions or any corrections or any thing you like to say, please, you can now maybe raise your hand and or start also speaking, and then Zoom will put your face. Anyone want to say anything? Thank you so much, everyone. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubheva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Does anyone want to speak anything? Otherwise, we'll stop here, okay?
Haribol Didi, Dandot Pranam.
Haribo, Dandavats. Anyone, any questions? Anyone want to say anything? Corrections, other things?
I just want to ask if you can recite, maybe in a voice record, this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, 10:15:8.
To recite the verse.
Yes, please, if it's possible.
Yeah, okay. I'll send in the WhatsApp. But I don't know also specifically which melody to sing. I'll just put any melody, but I don't know exactly which one is the best melody.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
Haribol Taruni Didi, Danvat
Haribo,
Pranam.
Bandalari Didi, Dandavat Pranams. Thank you for studying together. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. No, it's so much. It's like a great opportunity. Didi, is there any chance I can get like a Hindi version of what we're doing? So just my own time, I can go through and reread it.
The book, you mean? The book?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's,
I'll try to send it to you. I'll get the PDF and send it to you, okay? On your WhatsApp.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, all good. Hare Krishna. Oh, Vasanti
Hare Krishna.
Didi. Hare Krishna. Oh, you're there. Haribo. Okay, thank you all. We'll see you next Monday, 8 p.m. Jai Shri Gurudev ki Jai. Madhavala Didi. Hare Krishna Krishna Prabhu Bandulari Didi. Chandrika Didi. Radha Sundari Didi. Haribo.